We may have figured out the real reason that Donald Trump is obsessed with getting Jerome Powell to lower the federal funds rate. It has nothing to do with the economy. It has nothing to do with what's good for the country. It may be as Donald Trump has money to make if the federal funds rate declines. Let me explain. Trump has been demanding that the Federal Reserve slash interest rates for a while now. And some of his demands have not been for like a 25 or 50 basis point cut. Trump's been talking about the Fed lowering interest rates 3 or 4 full points, something the Fed would only ever consider doing, number one, much more slowly than 3 or 4 points at a time. You usually see a quarter to half a point at a time. But more importantly, something the Fed would only really consider doing if the economy is in trouble, if they need to boost the economy. Thanks to new disclosures, we now know that Donald Trump could make a lot of money. Donald Trump's wallet could swell like his ankles if the federal funds rate were to be reduced. Let me explain why. Why demand a rate cut when the economy is doing really poorly if you claim the economy is doing really well? Makes sense to ask the question. We might have figured it out. Since his second inauguration, Donald Trump has purchased personally over $100 million in corporate, state, and municipal bonds. So like Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Qualcomm, a long list of state bonds, a long list of local government bonds. And so here's the very simple math. This is like I learned this in, I guess it must have been money and banking, first year of econ or something like that. So here's the way it works. If you buy bonds have a purchase price and a yield. You might buy $1,000 bond that pays 5%. Cool. Lower rates mean that bonds you already own start to be worth more. Let me explain how that works. Bond prices and interest rates move in opposite directions. When rates go down, older bonds that pay a higher interest rate become more valuable. Why would that be? Well, think about it. If I was able to go out and get a 5% bond for $1,000, rates go down. Now, all of a sudden, bonds only pay 4%. Why would I now go and spend $1,000 on a 4% bond? I would be willing to pay more than the $1,000 for a bond that pays 5%. Now, this is not the exact math, but all of a sudden, the bond I might have purchased for $1,000 that paid 5%, someone might be willing to pay me $1,100 for the bond. Because if they go out on the public market, they're no longer going to get 5%. So in order to get a higher yield, they're willing to pay me more for that bond. This is why they move in opposite directions. So here's the kicker. Trump has bought $100 million worth of bonds. If and when the Fed lowers rates, Trump's bonds with the higher rates are now worth more. Trump can sell them and make a whole bunch of money. The more downward pressure Trump can put on the federal funds rate, the more his bonds are going to be worth on the open market. Fed cuts rates, Trump's bonds spike in price, instant windfall. And so when you see Trump out there patting Jerome Powell and going, this guy's got to lower rates for me, he's too late, Jerome Powell. Trump would benefit from that personally. Now, the White House is doing its usual dog and pony show. The White House is saying, oh, no, Trump's portfolio is managed by a third party. He doesn't have a role in managing it, but he still knows what he's got going on. This is like when Trump, oh, I'm going to put my businesses in a blind trust. Right, but you still know if you own hotels, right? You still know you have a hotel in Washington, D.C. that diplomats and foreign dignitaries can stay at. By the way, Trump didn't end up doing that, but even if he had. So this is a guy with a long history of using the presidency to self-enrich, to help himself, his family, or his friends. You look at the 2017 tax cuts, slashed corporate rates, boosted profits for companies whose stock he owned, created this qualified business income deduction, which was a boon for many people sort of Trump's ilk. He did deregulation and rolled back environmental and financial rules, and that benefited sectors that Trump's invested in, banks, for example, and energy. Trump promoted spending on infrastructure and tourism that increased the value of luxury real estate, like his golf resorts. Tariff waivers. Trump has granted selective exemptions for products, including ones that he is involved in. And so, you see this and you can almost laugh. Like, can you imagine if Obama had done this? Forget about Biden. I know people go, David, stop talking about Biden, if Biden had done it. All right, well, forget about Biden. Imagine if, as Trump calls him, Barack Hussein Obama had done this. What do you think they would be saying? They would be saying, anti-American, we told you that the Kenyan Marxist Muslim wasn't going to have America's best interest in mind. Off with his head, 25th Amendment impeachment. If Barack Obama, imagine we learned, Obama spent $100 million. Obama didn't have $100 million when he was president. Put that aside. Obama spent $100 million on bonds and then aggressively said cut rates, even though the economic circumstances didn't support aggressive rate cuts. The very same Republicans defending Donald Trump today would have been holding round-the-clock hearings about corruption and self-dealing, and it would have made Hillary Clinton's Benghazi hearings look like child's play. But with Trump, it's Thursday, guys. That's it. It's Thursday. So going forward, when you hear Donald Trump talking about the Fed's got to do the right thing, Jerome Powell's too late here, just remember that this is a guy who has turned the presidency into a personal profit center before. He's doing it again. Lower rates might help you a little bit, like maybe you could get a mortgage for slightly cheaper, except, by the way, home prices and mortgage rates also tend to move in opposite directions. Mortgage rates go down, home values tend to go up because with a lower interest rate, people can now afford more home for the same monthly payment. The point is, it might help you a little bit. It is going to help Trump a lot. And imagine if he can make a couple percentage points on $100 million in bonds. That's Trump for you. Can't say I'm surprised. Go Google your name right now, and you'll probably be shocked by how many sketchy websites have your address, phone number, even details about your family. Our sponsor, Incogni, is the solution. It is a service that will force data brokers and people search sites to delete your personal information so scammers, spammers, and snoops can't get their hand on it. It's also now part of their unlimited plan that you can do custom removals. You're no longer limited to just the 250 plus sites in their automated system. You can submit any link where your personal info is exposed, and Incogni's privacy experts will get it taken down, even if the site's not in their database, whether it is whitepages.com, trellis.law, DNB, or anybody else quietly publishing your information. Incogni will wipe the footprint clean. You paste the link and they do the rest. If you're tired of being tracked, profiled, targeted, this is how you push back. For instance, these sites are where scammers and spammers can get your information to then target you. Using Incogni can cut way down on the spam calls and the messages that you get. Try it risk-free for 30 days and get 60% off an annual plan when you go to incogni.com/Pakman. The link is in the description.